Think about the last big thing you wanted. The raise, the house, the person, the number in the bank account that was finally going to make you feel okay. King Solomon was offered every one of those at once, 3,000 years ago, and he turned them all down for one strange request. Hold that thought, because it is about to become very personal, and maybe you got it, and maybe you noticed something strange. The thing showed up, and the ache underneath it did not leave. You fixed the outside, and the inside stayed exactly as loud as it was before. Nobody warned you about that part. And if you have quietly suspected for years that no amount of it was ever going to fix the thing that is actually broken, then stay with me for a few minutes, because you were right. You were just never told where the real fix lives. So let us go back to that man. God comes to him in a dream and does something almost cruel. God says, ask for anything at all, a blank check signed by heaven. Now, you and I both know what we would have written on that check, but Solomon writes down something so strange that people have been misreading it for 3,000 years, because the Sunday school version quietly flattened the one word that actually matters. They tell you he chose wisdom over riches, and that is true on the surface. That is the mind winning over the money. But the word everyone remembers, wisdom, quietly swapped out what he actually said. And when you see the real thing in the text, in your own Bible, it stops being a nice story about a humble king. It becomes a set of instructions for the exact problem you walked in here with. I am not going to hand you the answer. By the end, you are going to see it sitting in the text yourself. And no, this is not another money cannot buy happiness greeting card. It is specific. It has a physical location, and it is hiding in one Hebrew phrase. Let me set the scene, because the details matter. Solomon is brand new on the throne. His father David is dead. He is young, he is in over his head, and he says so. He calls himself a little child who does not know how to go out or come in. He has just inherited the biggest job in his world from the greatest king his people had ever had, and he knows in his gut he is not ready for it. That is the honest place this whole story begins. Not confidence, not ambition. A young man alone in the dark, staring at a weight he does not think he can carry. And God appears to him at night and says, ask what I shall give thee. 1 Kings chapter 3. Ask, and it is yours. Sit in that for a second. Put yourself in the dream. If a voice you knew was real said, name it, and it is done, what comes out of your mouth? If we are honest, most of us would have the Powerball numbers half said before the sentence even finished. Money, or health, so we never get sick, or that one person who wronged us finally getting what is coming to them. And watch what the text does here. It names those exact three: long life, riches, the death of your enemies. Scripture lists the obvious wishes out loud, the ones any of us would grab for, so that Solomon's actual answer lands like a slap. Because he does not choose a single one of them. He asks for one thing instead. And to really hear it, we have to stop reading it in English, because the English handed you a word, wisdom, that swapped out what he actually said. When we say Solomon asked for wisdom, we picture a wise old man who knows a lot of things: facts, answers, a high score on a test. That is what the English word does to us. It makes wisdom sound like information, but the Hebrew is not that at all. Solomon asks God for a lev shomea. And those two little words break the Sunday school picture wide open. Take the first word, lev. We translate it heart, and so we think feelings. Love, warmth, the Valentine thing. But in Hebrew, the lev is not where you feel. It is where you decide. The lev is the inner place where a person thinks, weighs, chooses, and judges. When the Bible wants to talk about your mind, your will, your judgment, the command center of the whole person, it says lev, heart. Read it inwardly, and it is pointing at the seat of your thinking, not the seat of your emotions. Now the second word, and this is the one that changes everything, shomea. It simply means hearing, listening. So a lev shomea is literally a hearing heart, a listening mind. And listen to what he wanted it for. He says, "Give your servant this hearing heart to judge your people, so that I can tell the difference between good and bad." He is not asking to feel wise. He is asking to be able to tell two things apart that look almost the same and to choose rightly between them. Stop and feel how strange that is. Offered anything in the universe, Solomon does not ask to be smarter. He does not ask to know more facts. He asks for a mind that can listen. And I want to be careful right here, because this channel does not survive on English word tricks. I am not leaning on some accident in the King James. This is the Hebrew underneath it. Lev, the deciding mind. Shomea, hearing. Solomon asked for a listening judgment. The only question left is why that, out of everything he could have named, was the smartest wish anyone has ever made. And to answer that, you have to know what a ruler is actually for. Here is the shift the whole video turns on. Bill Donahue, who spent his life on this, used to say that every character in the Bible is a part of you. That these are not just men who lived and died long ago. They are a map of your own inner world. So let us read Solomon that way and see if it holds up. Read inwardly. A king is the part of you that rules, the governing faculty, the thing on the throne that everything else inside you obeys. And a kingdom is your inner life, all the wants and fears and habits and impulses living under that throne. Everybody has a ruler on the inside. The only real question is what you have let climb up and sit on it. For a lot of us, the thing on the throne is fear. For some, it is appetite, the next drink, the next scroll, the next hit of whatever numbs it. For some, it is other people's opinions. Something is ruling you right now, and it is writing the story of your life, whether you ever chose it or not. So what does a good ruler actually do? Not bark orders. That is the amateur's idea of power. A real ruler's first job is to judge, to tell the difference between two things and choose rightly. This from that, good from harm, the wise move from the tempting one. And here is the quiet genius of Solomon's request. You cannot judge what you refuse to hear. Judgment begins with listening. That is why he did not ask for a louder voice or a stronger arm. He asked for a hearing one. He understood that the faculty which governs everything else has to be able to listen before it has any business trying to rule. Quick favor while we are here, by the way. If this is landing for you, subscribing genuinely helps the channel keep making these. And the very next thing that happens in the story is the test. Because a hearing heart is worth nothing until life sets two things in front of it that look almost identical and dares it to choose. Two women come to Solomon holding one living baby. Both of them say, "The child is mine." There are no witnesses. There is no evidence. It is one woman's word against the other, and a newborn's life hanging on who is telling the truth. So Solomon does something that sounds insane. He calls for a sword and says, "Fine, cut the baby in half. Give each woman a piece." And in that instant, the truth tells on itself. One woman says, "Yes, divide him so that neither of us has him." The other one cries out, "No, give her the baby, just do not kill him." And Solomon says, "There is the mother, the one willing to lose the child rather than watch him die. Give her the baby." Notice how he judged. He did not out-argue them. He did not gather proof. He created one moment of real pressure, and then he listened, and love gave itself away. That is the hearing heart doing the one thing it was built to do. It judges by listening for what a heart does when the cost suddenly gets real. That is what Solomon asked for. That is what it looks like switched on. And that is the faculty you were really asking about when you wondered why getting the thing never fixed you. You did not have a money problem. You had a throne problem. Now watch what God says back at the start, because it is the hinge the whole thing swings on. God is so pleased with the request that he answers, because you have asked for this, and not for long life, and not for riches, and not for the death of your enemies. I am giving you the listening heart you asked for. And then he adds something. I will also give you the things you did not ask for, the riches, the honor, all of it. Read that slowly, because it corrects the thing people always get wrong about this story. Solomon did not reject riches. Riches were not evil. The money was never the problem. The riches simply were not qualified to sit on the throne. That is the whole distinction. Solomon did not throw the gold away. He put it where it belonged. In the treasury, not on the throne. A resource, not a ruler. He seated the faculty that could govern first, and only then were the resources safe to arrive, because now there was finally something wise enough to handle them. And look at what that one choice produced. The text says, God gave Solomon understanding as wide as the sand on the seashore. He could speak about the trees and the animals and the workings of the world. Kings traveled from the ends of the earth just to sit and hear him think. All of that abundance grew out of a single decision to seat the listening judgment first. The fruit came from the root and never the other way around. But hold that next to how his life ends, because the warning is just as loud. The wisest man alive slowly stops listening. He lets 1,000 other things climb up onto the throne. And the kingdom that discernment built, appetite quietly tears back apart. The ruler who stopped hearing lost the very things the hearing heart had earned him. So here is the pattern, and it is exactly the problem you carried in with you. If you put the reward on the throne before you have seated the thing that can govern it, the reward does not save you. It rules you. A resource on the throne turns sooner or later into a tyrant. That is why the money showed up and the ache stayed right where it was. You were handing the crown to the wrong thing. So let us bring this all the way home, into your own head, where Solomon's kingdom actually lives. That listening judgment he asked for is not a metaphor floating in the air. You have a physical seat for it. Right behind your forehead is the part of your brain that does exactly what a ruler does. It weighs the options. It holds back the impulse. It plans, and it picks the wise thing over the tempting thing. Scientists call this part executive function, which is just a technical way of saying the brain's decision maker. Think of it as the throne room of the mind. It is the newest and most human part of you, and it is the part that can pause, listen, and rule instead of just react. And here is what nobody told you in church. When fear or appetite takes over, when you snap or panic or reach for the thing you swore off last week, that reacting is a lower, faster part of the brain grabbing the throne. It does not listen. It just seizes. And it is faster than the ruler on purpose. That lower alarm system was built to yank the wheel before you can even think, back when the threat was a predator and the half second it saved was your life. The trouble is that it cannot tell the difference between a lion and an email. So it grabs the throne over things that were never going to kill you. You know exactly what this feels like. The message comes in that makes your face go hot, and before you have even decided anything, your thumbs are already typing the reply. The throne got grabbed. Something reacted as you and the listening ruler never even got the chance to sit down. Now maybe part of you is thinking, this is just self-help with a Bible sticker slapped on it. Fair enough. So, do not take my word for any of it. The words are Lev Shomea, sitting in 1 Kings chapter 3. The part of the brain is real, and you can look it up tonight. I am not asking you to believe me. I am asking you to check it, and to keep whatever holds up, because this is the choice underneath Solomon's choice, and it is the one sitting in front of you tonight. He was not asking God to make him clever. He was asking for his own faculty of judgment, the listening part of the mind, to be crowned king before anything else was allowed to rule him. That is the entire secret of the wisest man who ever lived. Seat the ruler first. Everything you own, everything you want, everything you are afraid of, none of it is safe to hold until the thing that can govern it is the thing on the throne. So what do you actually do with this tonight? Because Solomon's wish is not just something to admire from a distance. It is something you can practice. And the practice is almost embarrassingly simple, which is exactly why it works. You give yourself a hearing heart the same way he asked for one. You get quiet and you listen. And here is the part the dream quietly leaves out. The same Bible that tells this story also says that wisdom has to be dug for. Seek her like silver, it says. Search for her the way you would search for buried treasure, and then you will understand. The dream handed Solomon the gift. The digging was still his to do. And the digging is not complicated. It is this. Tonight, sit down for even 5 minutes. Do not talk at God, and do not talk at your problems. Do not plan. Do not argue. Do not rehearse the fight from earlier. Just sit and listen to the quiet underneath the noise. When a worried thought grabs for the throne, and it will, you do not fight it. You simply notice it, let it sit back down, and return to listening. If your mind simply will not settle, give it one small thing to come back to. The feeling of your own breath going in and out. That is the doorway. Every time you notice you have drifted, you come back to the breath, and just like that, you are listening again. It is not a trick, and it is not magic. It is a rep. You are training the ruler to hold its seat. That is the whole practice. And it is not nothing, and it is not emptying your mind, and it is not the demonic thing you were once warned about. It is the exact opposite. Every time you catch the reacting part and calmly come back to listening, you are handing the crown back to the rightful ruler. You are strengthening the very part of the brain that judges and governs, because attention, like a muscle, grows the part of you that you actually use. This is what the old proverb meant when it said, to guard your heart above everything else, because out of it flow all the issues of your life. Keep watch over who sits on the throne, and the whole kingdom slowly changes underneath them. And do not expect fireworks. Seating the ruler is quiet work. Some nights it will feel like nothing happened at all, but the part of you that can pause and choose is getting stronger in the dark, the same way a muscle you cannot see is still growing. Give it a week and watch how much less often the lower thing manages to grab the throne. Solomon was offered the entire world, and the first thing he asked for was the ability to listen. Tonight, you can make the very same choice he did. Seat the ruler. Then everything else in your life finally has something wise enough to hold it. And if you want to see where that throne actually sits, the room Solomon built to house it, I made an entire video showing that the temple he raised was a blueprint of your own brain, stone for stone. It is called Solomon's Temple was built inside your brain. Start there, and I will walk you straight into the throne room itself.